She lives in the forest, and sometimes when it's raining, she takes shelter in the toilet. Yes, a toilet. Not this modern toilet, but this.
Njyewe ndi umukecuru witwa Nyirabugesera Sumaya.
Why is she living such a life? Well, living such a life means taking a lot of risks. She of course has a lot of challenges resulting to living such a homeless life.
Afite imyaka 60. Nagira aho ndyama. Iyo ndyamye abasinzi baraza bakankora ibintu bibi.
She has been living a life where she lost everything. She's now homeless. She tells us more of her life story that shocked everyone.
Narereye mu bigo by'abapadiri mama yamaze kubyara navutse uwo munsi ahita apfa. Banira banjyana mu mamaseri.
She says her life became miserable starting from the first day she came to this world. She was not given a warm welcome. The day she was born, her mother died immediately. It is said she was a hawker and never knew who the father to the baby in her womb was. From there, she lived in an orphanage and was raised by nuns and other different sisters. She never had the chance of meeting or even seeing any of her parents since young. Life by then wasn't too bad as everything was provided by those sisters who were in charge of the orphanage. But then, after becoming a teenager, she was released and told she had to start living a life of her own. This is where she started testing the dark side of this world.
Noneho ubuzima burancanga burinde umuhindura gutya.
She then struggled to adapt and coping with such a life where she had no sibling, no bestie, and even no relative. She looked for a job and was hired as a housemaid. The job as a maid wasn't a dream job. She was always abused by her bosses and was never appreciated, yet she knew inside herself that she was giving herself 100%. But instead, they focused on whatever she did wrong. Later, the woman decided to part ways and say goodbye to such a poor job. She was growing, and when she turned 20, it was time for her to get married. She thought getting married would at least make life more easier. She then got married, but this too did not last as it ended up in premium tears. After spending more than 10 years, it was clear that this woman is barren and does not produce. This brought misunderstandings between the wife and the husband, where the husband would say that since the wife cannot make babies, she's not supposed to be called a woman. The woman persisted, but time came and the man chased her out of the house.
Ubuzima nabushakiye umugabo. Umugabo aranyanga ngo kubera ko nabyara.
The worst part is that the ex-husband brought in another wife when she was still there, and this hurt her even more and more. But she could not go because she knew she had nowhere to go. But the man ended up chasing her away. She says her life has always been problems, from one problem to another and so on.
Yagiye mu buzima bw'agataro. Ncuruza agataro.
She had some little money and used it on streets as she became a street vendor. By then, the street vending business was still legal and she was earning some money. She sold some onions, red peppers, vegetables, and more of that kind.
Igihe kinini cyane na n'ubu ndacyagakora.
She says that by when she was doing the street vending business, life was better. She had adapted to such a life as a street vendor and had got a small house of only one room, where she lived and depended on the profit from the business. She wasn't earning a lot, but at least she was self-reliant. But one day, she fell sick and the woman kept becoming ill that she had to spend more than 2 months without working, and that means 2 months without paying monthly rent. She had no one as her caretaker as the woman lives alone and has adapted to this lonely life.
nararwaye ndwaye kubera ko mba nafite cyunganira, mba nafite amafaranga yo kwishyura iyo nzu, mba nafite n'ibintu bindwaje, noneho ndagenda ndapfa. Nibwo nyir'inzu yinjiraga araza arabisohora bitaze ngo nimuvire mu nzu, ngo nta ntumba ashaka mu nzu ye.
She was so ill, but the landlord never cared. All he did was evicting the woman. He could see how weak she was and was afraid and feared that she might even die from his house, as he knew the woman lived alone in the house.
Ndacyabirwaye, ngenda kwa muganga I Kanombe, ndangije mbona ntabwo ndimo gukira.
She went to hospitals but still wasn't recovering. She says up to now she's still suffering from that illness and shows no signs of recovering. But sometimes she only wakes up feeling okay, but it's only a matter of hours. And then she again gets weak and weaker. The problem she has is the lower part of the body that started rotting, and now walking and doing some activities is more difficult. Since the day she was evicted from the house, she started wandering around with a mat and a bed cover, but finally opted to sleep in the forest and neighboring bushes. She's homeless and says this is the worst life a person has ever lived. If it rains at midnight or the wind is too much, she goes and sleeps in the neighboring toilet. Most of the times she lives in this toilet, but says living such a homeless life has left her exposed to other homeless men who always take advantage of the 63-year-old lady and rapes her at night. She wakes up finding a man or two on him, and this has happened not once, not twice, but multiple times. And she has no way of solving this. The only way she'd be safe would be having a house where she lives, and there she can feel safe.
Ibintu ibyifuzo mfite bya bino bintu ku bantu badukurikiye nuko banshakira ahantu ndambika umusaya.
She needs a lot to survive, but says for her safety a house is the priority, and the next would be going to the hospital as she has been suffering from an unknown illness for years. Last but not the least would be helping her to get capital and start a business. You can help this old woman to survive by contributing on the Giving Lives link found in description and pinned in top comments. Be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you'll never ever have enough. Thank you for watching. I'm Elijah and this is Afrimax English. Remember to subscribe.